Good Sunday evening, everyone. I'm meteorologist Rachael Peart. We're tracking Ida, Julie, and a few more areas in the Atlantic tropics on this August 29th, 2021. So speaking of Ida, it made landfall near Port Fourchon in Louisiana at 12:55 Eastern Time as a Category 4 hurricane. Mass sustained winds at landfall were estimated at around 150 miles an hour, which makes Ida the strongest Atlantic hurricane that we've had thus far this season. But remember, we're still in August and we typically see more activity during the month of September, so we still have quite a ways to go. 6 p.m. advisory on Hurricane Ida, those winds at 130 miles an hour, so still a Category 4 hurricane, even though it's been over land for about 5 hours. And it's moving to the north-northwest at 10 miles an hour. Pressure now down to 938 millibars. So the lower the pressure, the stronger the storm. And as that pressure rises, we'll be knowing that Ida is actually weakening as it moves over land. Taking a look at the wind history here of Ida, it's been a hurricane since the day on Friday, and we've been seeing it steadily increasing to that 150-mile-an-hour mark by early on Sunday, right before it made landfall in Louisiana. So we're still dealing with a Category 4 hurricane, even though it's been over land. It's still able to kind of hone in on some of those very warm waters just to the south of the Louisiana coastline. Let's talk about I-named storms. Take a look at all of these. Very notorious part of the alphabet when it comes to the Atlantic tropics. As far as retired storms since 2000, 9 I-named storms, not including Iota from last year, have been retired. So we are talking about storms like Isidore, Isabel, Ike, Irene, Irma, all of those names. If you say it to someone who was affected, they will definitely remember some of those unfortunate impacts that they had from those storms. Now, when it comes to Ida, here to take a look at the tracks of the last 2 times we saw this storm name move through the Atlantic. We had this Ida, which actually did make landfall, and then we also had another Ida, which was more of a fish storm. Last time we saw Ida, it was a tropical storm, and then in 2009, it was a Category 2 hurricane. Now, there is a good chance that we might not see Ida again because of some of the devastating effects that we are going to be seeing from this storm. So again, still a major hurricane with the 6 p.m. Sunday advisory. Wind gusts up to 160 miles an hour and about 40 miles away from New Orleans, Louisiana. So you do see the center of that storm just to the southwest of New Orleans, but New Orleans definitely getting impacts from this storm. Expecting it to weaken to a Cat 1 storm as we move towards Monday, early Monday morning, a tropical storm by Monday afternoon, then a tropical depression as we head into the day on Tuesday. As far as moving from that, it's going to lose some of those tropical characteristics, and we're going to see this system post-tropical Ida moving through areas of Maryland, the District of Columbia, through New Jersey, New York, up through areas of New England, dropping quite a bit of rain in these areas. Even though the storm is going to have lost its tropical characteristics, it's still going to have quite a bit of rain to drop on the areas that it moves over. Watches and warnings in place. We still have hurricane warnings in place for southern parts of Louisiana and then also extreme southern parts of Mississippi as well. Other regions in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and then the waters off of the Florida Panhandle are under a tropical storm warning. Storm surge warnings in place for southern Louisiana through Biloxi, Mississippi, and then to the state line between Alabama and Florida. And of course, that's the Florida Panhandle as you head towards Pensacola. You can see that side of your screen. Storm surge potential. We're still looking at some areas seeing over 10 feet of storm surge from Ida because this storm has actually slowed down a bit. When I saw you yesterday afternoon, it was moving at about 15 to 16 miles an hour. Now it's moving at only 10 miles an hour. So we want the storm to speed up to get out of some of these areas to try and lessen some of these impacts, but we'll have to see how Ida wants to move. Taking a look at the wind potential here, you do see sustained winds in New Orleans upwards of 100 miles an hour. So that area absolutely getting battered, southeastern Louisiana. As we head into Monday afternoon, we're still seeing very, very strong winds in New Orleans, Mobile, Alabama, and even Pensacola, Florida, all seeing some really, really strong winds. But it's up towards areas like northern Louisiana, central parts of Mississippi. You're seeing Jackson, Mississippi, with those winds upwards of 90 miles an hour. And we still stick with very, very strong winds as Ida continues to weaken, losing those tropical characteristics. We see winds in Memphis, 53 miles an hour, northern Alabama, Huntsville, 53 miles an hour, and still pretty strong wind gusts on top of the sustained winds as well. Moving into the middle part of the week, we continue with these stronger winds heading all the way over to Virginia Beach areas, parts of the Delmarva, the Outer Banks of North Carolina, all seeing some pretty strong winds. And that's on top of the rainfall that we're also going to be seeing move through some of these areas. So 5 p.m. Sunday, this is where we were seeing some of that rain. You're seeing very heavy rain into New Orleans, southern parts of Mississippi, southern parts of Alabama, and then some spotty showers into parts of central Louisiana. So, of course, the storm going to continue to move off to the north, getting some of that heavy rain into Jackson, Mississippi by early on Monday morning. Remember, they do have tropical storm warnings in place into central parts of Mississippi. It continues to move north, and you see it kind of falling apart. It's losing kind of that counterclockwise swirl that you would typically see with more organized tropical systems. But we do have heavy rain, Nashville, Huntsville, Alabama, and even into Memphis as well. And we're continuing with this pattern of seeing heavy rain. You're going to see some heavy rain from Ida into Atlanta, into parts of West Virginia, and you're seeing all the way into Illinois, Indiana, southern parts of Ohio, and then it's even going to continue to move up into Pennsylvania, dropping some very heavy rain into parts of central PA. Flash flood watch is in place for areas of Tennessee, good portion of eastern Louisiana, the entire state of Mississippi under a flash flood watch, and also western parts of Alabama as well. Let's talk about the rainfall that I just mentioned. Take a look at some of these numbers still to come. And I mentioned central Pennsylvania, Harrisburg, the capital of Pennsylvania, upwards of 8 inches of rain is possible from the remnants of Ida. It's not even going to be tropical by the time it gets to Pennsylvania, but you're also seeing Charleston, West Virginia, Morgantown, 4, 5, 6, 7 inches of rain from, again, whatever's left of the storm. Here's another look at the infrared satellite. You can see it making landfall, but that eye still very, very well defined as it moves to the west of New Orleans. But of course, it's not just the center of the storm that gets those big impacts. It's areas all around it. We're seeing multiple states getting some pretty bad impacts from Ida. Let's take you out to the middle of the Atlantic. This is our other tropical storm. This is Julian. Julian's not going to be much of an issue as we look toward the next few days. And here's a look at the big picture. Ida back here affecting the northern Gulf Coast states. We have Julian in the middle of the Atlantic. Tropical Depression 10. We also have a tropical wave set to come off the western African coastline. Then we also have this area of low pressure off the mid-Atlantic coast of the eastern United States that they've also pegged as well. So Tropical Storm Julian, as I mentioned, not going to be an issue for anyone. We do say that retaining tropical storm strength, maybe even strengthening just a bit, but it's going to continue to hook off to the north away from land, eventually becoming post-tropical. It's just going to be a fish storm. We also think Tropical Depression 10 probably going to become Kate, but we'll have to see how this wants to react. We thought this was going to be Kate by early on Sunday morning, but didn't quite get its act together. So we'll be continuing to watch to see when that does gain those that strength that it needs to become a tropical storm. So let's take you over to the eastern coast of the United States. I know a lot of folks in eastern Virginia saw this and they were freaking out just a little bit, but this storm is actually going to move away from the coastline, and right now it has a really low chance for any tropical development in the 2-day and then also into the 5-day outlook, so not too much of an area of concern. Of more concern is going to be this tropical wave that's going to move off the western coast of Africa. You do see it has that red high 80% chance of becoming at least a tropical depression in the next 5 days. Here's where we are as far as the list go. Of course, Ida, Category 4 hurricane. We have Tropical Storm Julian. We also have Kate as the next name, then Larry, then Mindy. We're almost halfway through the list, and again, we haven't even gotten to September. So here's a look at that Atlantic hurricane season. This is about where we are August 28th, August 29th, and we do see that typical peak date around September 10th. Taking you over to the Pacific very quickly, this is Nora. This was a hurricane, and when I switched this over, I did put this on here so you could see that we did have a Category 1 hurricane right on the western coast of Mexico. This storm not going to be lasting too much longer, staying as a tropical storm into the day on Tuesday, eventually fizzling out during the middle part of the week. So I do want to thank you all so much for watching. If you're interested, you can find me over on Twitter. I do post some tropical updates over there as well. But I hope that everyone in the line of Ida, and even if you're not in the direct line, maybe you're getting some secondary impacts later on in the week, continue to stay safe and stay tuned to that forecast just in case things shift a little bit farther to the north or to the south. So just keep an eye on the forecast just so that you can all stay safe. Again, I want to thank you so much, and make sure you subscribe to us here on 13 News Now YouTube channel, and we'll see you again for another update in just a few days.